Welcome to G.I.Joe Chronicles, Outpost Edition.
I trust your mission was equally well executed.
I want a stone cold righteous attention.
Militarily speaking, it's only fair to say that Cobra Commander is a world-class buffoon.
Hello, troops. I am Jim Meal, also known as Jim the Joe Junkie, and welcome to G.I.Joe Chronicles Outpost Episode 15, where we will chronologically discuss the toys, comics, cartoons, and many other aspects of G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero, which is my favorite pop culture subject. Without getting too bogged down in the details, just my co-hosts and I having a conversation and reminiscing. Today, we will be discussing 4 episodes of the Sunbow cartoon, and with me today, returning to talk about some classic G.I. Joe animation, is the Quartermaster of the Outpost, my brother, George Meal. Thanks for dropping off some more supplies to the Outpost, George. How have you been? And have you been on any special missions lately?
Hey, Jim. Glad to be back. Special missions, nothing really. Well, I guess we went to Iowa for JoeCon 2 weeks ago. Seems like it was not 2 weeks already, but yeah, that was a great trip. A little road trip down to Iowa from Michigan, and got a chance to see some cool Joe stuff, and it was a real fun time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up, was that Codename Iowa show. Anybody's not been to it and can get to it. It's not a big show, but it's very intimate. You can definitely tell there's a community there, people that you're just having a good time. It's big enough that you can buy stuff, you can get signatures, but it's small enough that you can chat and all that stuff. Did see Larry Hama again, met him 2016, George, we saw him in Traverse City.
It was 15, 16, something like that. Yeah, it was first time I think it's the only time he's actually gone to the Traverse City one.
Got him signed some comics, heard some stories. Ron Wagner was there, talked to him a little bit. He's a pretty cool guy. Yeah, it was a good time. Got some good 3D printed items and some vintage toys and t-shirts and all kinds of stuff. So it was a good time. But we have another visitor to the Outpost. Please welcome Jason Keene. And thank you for joining George and I to discuss some classic Joe animation. Jason, how did you get introduced to the G.I. Joe brand? The toys, comics, cartoons, puzzles? What was it?
It was a little bit of everything, I think, but primarily the cartoon as well as the toys. I think cartoon first and then toys quickly thereafter. So the comics were hit or miss. I think I probably picked up a little bit more Transformers back then. But then G.I. Joe soon took over, the toy room, though.
As it should. So, have you been on any special missions lately?
Well, let's see. I think the closest I could call it is this summer. My family and I went to Washington, D.C. for the first time ever and got to see the nation's capital. That felt like something of a special mission, and we left many museums behind we're going to have to go back and look at again. So, it's going to be fun. I think it's going to become a semi-annual trip, maybe.
Yeah, I've never been to D.C. I've always wanted to go, in Philadelphia and all that historic stuff.
Same here. Yeah, it's just always been on the bucket list, and we thought, why not? Let's do it. And it turned into a lot of fun. I suggest it for everybody. Go to D.C. Have a blast.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. I went my senior year in high school, and I'd like to go back as an adult, so I'm on my own schedule. I'll make it there eventually.
Yeah, I may just have to go out myself sometime, because I know my wife's not into the historical stuff.
We'll just have to find a toy show that's going on that's in that area, and we'll just double up.
There you go.
I will say I did go with a teenage girl, so you might want to, pick a different traveling companion. You might not have the same interest in all the museums. So, yeah, just throwing that out there.
Travel with my brother. It's kind of like traveling with a teenage girl sometimes.
I can edit that out. All right. Thanks for debriefing us on your special missions, George and Jason. So let's dive right into our first segment, Action Figures in Motion.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
Last cartoon episode, we covered 5 episodes of Season 1, Cobra's Candidate, Money to Burn, Operation Mind Menace, Battle for the Train of Gold, and Cobra's Soundwaves, where we covered some political intrigue, how quickly money can go up in smoke, the next team of X-Men, horses that could run down a train of gold, and some powerful sound waves. We covered a wide range of stuff. This show We will continue to discuss more of the regular cartoon episodes of Season 1. And most of these episodes are single episode stories, begin and end in one episode, with a few two-part stories sprinkled in. Most of them have a fairly basic plot. Cobra attempts an evil scheme, and G.I. Joe stops them. We will begin by giving a synopsis of each episode and expressing our thoughts on the highs, lows, and what does. But here at the Outpost, we call the what does Fatal Fluffies. We also want to thank Half the Battle for the episode information that you'll be hearing today. George, how about getting us started with the first one we will be discussing today?
Sure thing. The first one we're doing today is Where the Reptiles Roam, written by Jerry and Carla Conway. A team of Joes steal data from Cobra Information Center. The stolen disc reveals that Cobra recently bought a Texas dude ranch near a satellite farm. Wild Bill, Lady J, Alpine, and Bazooka investigate and are welcomed by the ranchers Ma and Pa, whose daughter, Mary Bell, takes a shine to Wild Bill. Underground, Cobra immediately identifies the Joes and assigns the Dreadnoks to harass them. After being threatened by a loose bull and a horse spooked by a burr in the saddle, the Joes become suspicious. Wild Bill steers a stampede away from the solar power farm, and the consequent dust storm allows Zartan to enter and steal a chip that gives control of the satellite to Cobra. That night, the Dreadnoks capture Alpine and Bazooka as Lady J follows the ranchers to Cobra's hideout. There, she discovers Cobra intends to use a satellite to use sunbeams as a weapon, but she quickly is recognized. Outside, Mary Bell reveals herself to be the Baroness, but Wild Bill overpowers her and Zartan. Cobra transmits a ransom demand to Joe HQ and destroys the Golden Gate Bridge. The Joe team assaults the ranch and dodges Cobra's beams by advancing on foot. The battle concludes when Wild Bill leads a stampede against Cobra vehicles. Cobra leaders escape in the trouble bubbles, and later outside Joe HQ, Wild Bill reflects on his adventure with Snake Eyes and Timber.
All right. Thank you, George. So, Jason, what is one of your high, lows, or fatal fluffies?
I'm going to start off with a high. There were three-wheelers in this episode. The Dreadnoks were driving three-wheelers, not four-wheelers. Uno, dos, tres. Three wheels. These things used to be so much more common in the 80s, and before that, I had cousins who had them. I was never allowed to drive one of these. We had four-wheelers in my neck of the woods. I always wanted a three-wheeler. So just seeing the Dreadnoks on a three-wheeler, high point of the episode already.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that because they can't be on a ferret because then that would give them away. So they had to be on three-wheelers. I get it.
Yeah, these guys are deep undercover.
Yeah, they are.
They're not playing around. We're not going to give ourselves away by driving a normal vehicle. No. They went to the store with Cobra Commander's credit card and got, 8 new three-wheelers.
Back in the day, those three-wheelers were, I rode a few of them, and I much prefer four-wheelers. A lot more stable.
The three-wheelers were good, though, on the ice. They did a lot better job floating than the four-wheelers did.
Speaking from experience?
I saw it done once.
Okay. All right. George, how about you?
Well, I've got one it was right at the beginning of the episode when they were breaking into that Cobra base or whatever it was. And, you had Bazooka being Bazooka. And they were like, oh, you just closed off the only door we had. And then he turned around and blew a hole in the wall. Well, he blew a hole in the wall of where they just came in and there was an opening. So I don't know what way they were planning on going out. I was like, what the heck's going on? I'm like, oh, whatever. Just let it go.
Bazooka logic is not our logic. This is a different brand.
And maybe it was a different spot, but Snake Eyes knew to, he's like, well, he's ding-dong. He's going to have to go over here anyway. I'll just wait for him over there.
That's what I was going to bring up. One of my points was, did they really take Bazooka into the facility and leave Snake Eyes outside on a sneak and peek mission?
Let's go on a covert operation. We got Johnny 2 left feet there and let him go in with his.
I did not even think about that. That is hilarious. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, sneaky man. You stay out here and look for, snakes or something. And
you brought your dog. You just have to stay outside with the dog.
The one I have, and every time we have a new creator or new writer, I try and bring up some things that individual did. Well, for me to list all the items that Jerry Conway did, we could be here all night. Go to Wikipedia or IMDb or anywhere. You can Google him. Some of the highlights, he worked in both Marvel and DC. writing on comics such as the Justice League, Superman, Detective Comics, the Avengers, Defenders, and a historic run on Amazing Spider-Man, where he's known for co-creating the Punisher. He also wrote The Death of Gwen Stacy. At DC is known for co-creating Firestorm, Power Girl, Killer Croc, and the second Robin, Jason Todd. If you think about it, if it wasn't for Jerry Conway, a lot of the comics and storylines and cartoons would just not be the same as they would be without him. It'd be a whole different storyline. Big props to him.
Agreed. When I saw his name listed as the writer, I got excited right away. I knew we were in for something good.
I watched these multiple times. This last time I watched it, I really paid attention to how the cartoon was structured. At the beginning, they were driving by the solar farm, right? And Lady J explained to Bazooka or Alpine or whoever, what is that? And Lady J explained it. Well, later on, that's part of the storyline. And there was something else too, where it was kind of foreshadowing the way it's structured. You could tell a very skilled writer wrote it.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think it was that they kind of hinted at like the beam coming down from the satellite could be dangerous.
Yeah.
Perhaps. And then it's like, oh, yeah.
Yep. No, it was well written. I think he does a few more. There's another episode coming up with a big writer in it as well. So we'll get to that later.
So where does Carla come in?
She wrote for a lot of the cartoons, such as Dino Riders, Gem, Spiral Zone, Centurions, and your favorite, My Little Pony. All right, Jason, you got another one?
There was so many little jokes that I loved that he snuck in. There was a reference to Jane Austen when one of the guy's last names was Austin and he was referencing his sister named Jane at some point. And it was, I can't remember who said it. It was somebody talking to Wild Bill. And he was like, yeah, I think her name's Jane. And it was like, oh, okay. You know, you're not going to get it as a kid, but as an adult, if you happen to remember that name, it works. And I also really like the popcorn. The popcorn really did it for me when, you know, the field gets hit with the heat ray and then all of a sudden what happens? You got a field full of corn. You got a field full of popcorn. What's a better cartoon idea than a field full of popcorn? I loved every minute of that.
Just goofy enough that it makes it fun.
And who wouldn't want to experience that on some level?
What movie was that in the 80s where they put that laser beam on the house?
Is it Strange Science or not Weird
It had
Science?
Val Kilmer in it.
Yeah.
Real Genius.
Yes, Real Genius. That was a good movie.
Yeah. George, what else you got?
Let's see. Which one do I want to go with? I think we'll go with another one of those what the heck's going on here. When Wild Bill took out Baroness and Zartan, you know, so they're both knocked out. And then all of a sudden they go to Cobra Commander, sending off the broadcast. You got everybody standing there. Zartan's there. I'm like, how are they standing there when they're out in the yard knocked out? I'm like, I think somebody didn't edit it properly or something. Yeah, and then they were all standing around the big screen when he was blowing up the Golden Gate Bridge. They were all standing there too. I'm like, wait a minute.
I've seen Spaceballs. It was their stunt doubles.
There you go.
That's I'm helping. I'm trying.
Well, they're masters of disguises, so
There you go.
You're probably right. You know, they didn't really knock out the real Baroness. It was somebody else. They were still back on the base. All right.
Speaking of the comedic tunes and things like that, when Wild Bill was introducing Lady J, Bazooka, and Alpine, all I could think of was Larry, my brother Daryl, and my other brother Daryl from the Bob Newhart show. And that's that right time frame, too. The show was popular, and I thought that was pretty funny. It's something you don't get as a kid, but later on, rewatching it, yep, I get it.
The genius of Conway.
Anybody have any burning ones they want to go over for this one?
The only thing I had left was I really love that they had the trouble bubbles hidden in the bathroom. Like, that seems like a well thought out exit strategy to me.
That would definitely be a bomb.
Yeah, apparently the one was not used because they would have blown it up when they had those jets took off.
Yes. George, got any more?
I just had one that I like how Alpine and Bazooka, they blended in very well. They didn't look like, you know, Lady J, Wild Bill. You can sell those guys. I had to think about it before they said Bazookas. I'm like, who the heck is, that's Bazooka. You know, it makes sense because he was at the beginning of the episode. He didn't look like Bazooka.
Acted like him, though.
Always does.
So the last one I have, and maybe you guys can help me with it. Ma and Pa, they were actual old people. They were not disguises of anybody, right? when Lady J snuck down into the underground, they were working one of the computers.
Yeah, they were staring at the computer like
Yeah,
they were
that's
sitting
true.
there in front of watching Jeopardy or something. And it just, yeah, they were not disguised at all. I suppose maybe they didn't have their size and uniforms or something. Or they're like me. I get dressed once a day. Well, no matter what I'm doing after work, I'm not changing my clothes.
I kept waiting. I'm like, okay, who are they? So Mary Beth was Baroness, and then Dreadnoks and Zartan. So who's the old people? And they
Tomax and Zaymont.
There you go. There you go. All right. So Jason, one of the reasons why you're on this very episode of Outpost is this next cartoon episode, The Games Master. How about you do the synopsis for us?
Thank you, sir. Here we go. The Games Master, written by Flint Dill. A large, reclusive man-child grows bored on his island of candy and toys, so he sends his robot minions to kidnap Flint, Lady J, the Baroness, and Cobra Commander. The captives wake up in a giant nursery and soon find themselves pursued by life-size toy soldiers with real weapons. They are told they are in a game whose object is to reach a one-person escape helicopter. Those left behind will die. Meanwhile, G.I. Joe and Cobra blame each other for the disappearances. Cobra captures Ace, and the Joes corner Zartan in their efforts to recover their missing personnel. As the captives struggle to cooperate, Flint falls for one of the Game Master's traps and is taken back to the main complex, presumed dead. He confronts the Game Master and is able to get a message to Joe headquarters before being recaptured. G.I. Joe and Cobra mount a joint assault on the island, led by Duke and Destro. The day is won, but the Game Master escapes, and the Joe-Cobra alliance is short-lived due to Cobra Commander's irrational suspicions.
And that's usually what does him in anyway. Thank you for that, Jason.
Yes, thank you.
George, how about a high, low, or fatal Fluffy?
Well, first I have to ask is the Games Master, is his alter ego Kingpin? Because he's a big dude. I'm like, oh, he could easily pass for the Kingpin.
One of my notes is he's a combination of Kingpin and Arcade, the X-Men villain.
Yes. As soon as he stood up out of that chair, I'm like, boy, he's a big dude.
Go ahead and do another one.
One thing that I thought was pretty good, because I've seen it in many movies, was when both G.I. Joe and Cobra were addressing their people. They were going back and forth, and like they'd leave off on their word and pick up right on, oh, that means that they've been, and then it switches to Destro, kidnapped, just back and forth. You know, I thought that was, I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that many times and never gets old.
Yeah, that was good editing and good progression of the story. All right, Jason, I know you're chomping at the bit to get.
Oh my gosh. Oh, there's so much. I'll try to contain myself. Baroness's bikini.
What bikini? It was barely
frog in my throat. Frog in my throat. I don't know what Baroness's bikini. I don't know what that was about. Yeah, so I loved, like you said, the back and forth, showing what the Cobras are doing, showing what the Joes are doing, and I really like the capturing of the four people. What kind of spa was the Baroness in when she got captured? That tank was huge. There we go. Lady J made sense. Flint made sense. Cobra Commander made sense. But Baroness, no, I like a large tub to relax in. So I just like the...
And it was an open room, too. There was nothing else in there.
Well, yeah. No, you want to see people coming. You don't want anybody to sneak up on you when you're in your tub. Oh, wait.
That big light, was that like a sun lamp or something?
Well, she's pretty pale, so I'm thinking that is like a non-tanning light, something to, make her skin glow with white alabaster, appeal. That's what she's into.
I knew the Baroness in the bikini was coming out. Back in the day, as a kid, I thought Lady J getting undressed and her slip falling down. That's not a bad visual.
I was not ready for that. When that and the bikini happened, I thought, okay, that's a cute bit. Surely she'll be back in her uniform like everybody else. I had completely forgotten about it. And I was like, now I think I know why this probably was my favorite episode as a young man. Sometimes it's just that easy to get our attention. So, yeah.
This is one of the most memorable episodes of the series. If you ask anybody, you remember G.I. Joe the cartoon, and this is probably one of them that'll be in the top 5 that they list off. just because of the uniqueness and Baroness in a bikini, and just one of the reasons why I like it and remember it is because of the way that Cobra and Joe interacted when they decided to combine forces. Just some of the images on the screen when Scarlet and Zartan going back and forth. Zartan complimenting her, and she's saying, "Our enemy keeps us on our toes," or something.
Competition keeps us on our toes.
Yeah. And then there was another scene where there's a whole bunch of them, shooting and coming out. So just those images and the interaction once they actually combined the force, I really like that. I believe it's back to you, George.
All right. Well, I'm going to kind of touch back on the, Lady J being in her slip and all that. I like the fact that she at least had enough sense to get dressed before she passed out. She at least put her clothes back on. Because I had in my head that I'm like, must have been she, woke up in that slip. And I'm like, no, she was fully dressed, back ready to go.
Well, she had room in that couch box to get dressed. And she had clothes with her. Where Baroness didn't have clothes with her when she was captured.
Was Baroness in a bikini in this?
I didn't know that.
I thought she was in a robe.
That's what I saw.
This is one episode that our mother and my wives cannot hear. Anyway.
Yeah, this is that one where, you feel awkward. This is the one that, you're watching as an adult and your wife walks in the room and you're like, I swear this is not okay, fine.
Why is it paused?
And zoomed in, yes.
Yeah.
Well, because I wanted to give you my attention.
It just happened to be on this scene. I don't know. All right, Jason, you got more?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Let me narrow it down. I love that the Joes, when push comes to shove, are willing to inject Cobra with swamp flu to find out answers, because we ain't got time for this mamby-pamby, I want my lawyer. No, Joes are captured and we need to know right now, where are they? Not that I think they were actually going to do it, but it was the Cobras didn't know that, so it was a nice little bit.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty intense. Zartan was convinced Duke was going to do it.
Exactly. He would, so it made sense. Oh my gosh, he looked serious. Hang on, let me point to the map.
Yes. George.
I got one more. I thought it was odd how the Games Master was able to get their home address or find out where they're at, but yet Cobra has to go through a big ordeal to get everybody's secret identities. I'm like, this guy does it like he's looking it up in the yellow pages. I thought that was rather interesting. He was able to get that information a lot easier than Cobra.
He's very unassuming.
And he does say he'll be back at the end of the episode.
And I don't think we ever see him. Unfortunately.
No, but I think I found out where he shows up. So I've got here with me my Avengers Omnibus by Kurt Busiek and George Perez that came out a few years ago. And in this, there is a crossover issue. It's a annual issue that has the Avengers and the Squadron Supreme, and they team up to go against this man named Imus Champion. He is the spitting image of our antagonist in this episode. He is a giant man, baby looking dude. He has all the resources that, Tony Stark or anyone else of immense wealth would have. And he captures the team and devises ways to take out superpowered people one-on-one. And it's a fantastic issue.
That's interesting. There are times where the Joes actually show up in some Marvel comics, too. Like Duke showed up in one other time, too, but I can't remember.
We should just be glad that he doesn't team up with Cobra, because he could help do some damage.
Right, yeah. Somebody that actually has, a little bit more patience. The Games Master got a little upset with the, my toys.
Yeah, that was a little odd, but, you think about it, he's got toys everywhere. His best friend was a clown that he crushed.
It was Coco, right? Cobra Commander?
Oh, good point, George.
Leave it to the guy that knows nothing about it.
All right. Either of you have any more before we move on?
No, I'm good here.
That was a good episode. Again, as I said, it was one that people be a top 5 if somebody says, hey, what's your favorite Joe episode? Usually it'd be in the top 5 or top 10. All right. That leads us on to the next one. George, want to read the synopsis for us?
Sure. Lasers in the Night by Marv Wolfman. College student / karate instructor Amber meets Quick Kick at a martial arts exhibition. The two begin dating, but he dismisses her desire to join the Joe team. Meanwhile, Gung Ho is captured near Cobra Island base, and Lady J is kidnapped and impersonated by the Baroness during a rescue mission. That night, Amber infiltrates Joe headquarters to prove her skills to the Joe team, but she is quickly caught. Quick Kick gives her a tour of the base before escorting her out, which allows her a glimpse of a briefing about Gung Ho's capture, while the Baroness steals a security code. When Cobra Rattlers use the code to penetrate Joe's defenses, the Baroness, still disguised as Lady J, fakes a Sky Striker crash and escapes with long-range laser guidance system. Amber is the suspected spy, and Quick Kick is sent after her. Amber's outgoing answering machine message reveals she has gone to destroy Cobra's island base. Amber is captured and placed in a cell with Lady J and Gung Ho, while Cobra uses the laser guidance system to trace an image of Cobra Commander's hood on the moon. Quick Kick arrives at the base at about the same time Amber helps the others escape. The Joes run the Cobras off, and Amber is debriefed at headquarters. A closing scene reveals Quick Kick has used the laser to replace the moon's Cobra Commander image with a smiley face.
And who doesn't love a smiley face? All right. Jason, go ahead. Why don't you give us your high, low, or fatal fluffy?
All right. Let's see. I'll throw out there that I love the references with Quick Kick. I had forgotten this about his character, that he is always doing really, really bad impressions and passing them off as brilliant impressions, but everybody's going with it, so why not? Humphrey Bogart, George Bailey from A Wonderful Life. It was nonstop, and I loved every one of them. It was nice to remember that. So just seeing him do that, and then throwing the Wonderful Life reference about, I'll lasso the moon down for you, Mary. It was not something I would have remembered at the time, but I've seen that movie, every year at Christmas, minus 3 or 4 years every year of my life since. So I'm more familiar with the idea of him throwing out that line about the moon. It just tied it all together for me. I liked it. It was a neat bit of writing.
In the cartoon, if you remember, he was a Hollywood stuntman.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay.
Fudgy bars.
George, you're up next.
All right, then I'm going to roll off of what you were saying about the movie quotes. And you forgot about the one where all those laser whips came together, and he says, I love it when a plan comes together. Right out of the A-Team, baby. I caught that. I go, I know where that one was.
You're so right. Oh, my gosh. I was hopping in my seat when that one happened.
Well, I'm going to talk about the writer, Marv Wolfman. It's similar to Jerry Conway. There are many things that in comics, animation later, and even movies, TV shows, that would not be around or the same if it wasn't for Marv Wolfman. Again, this is another time where no way I could list everything. Go to Wikipedia, Google him, whatever, if you really want to know everything. But here's some highlights. He co-created the Daredevil villain, Bullseye. He wrote the new Teen Titans from the 80s when they relaunched it. So that means he created Starfire, Cyborg, Raven. He had his hand in so many Marvel and DC comics that it's crazy. Marv Wolfman, great writer, just like Jerry Conway. And as a kid, you don't realize some of these people wrote comics and how prolific and popular and how much they did in the past. So going back and researching some of this is pretty neat. This episode didn't seem like a comic book script, but it was still good. I mean, it was solid. All right. Jason, what's up next?
I guess this is kind of a question for you guys. Do you think the snake that Gung Ho punches is a real snake or some type of robotic snake? And same question for the little group of snakes that attack Amber at the end. Because I don't know how I feel about it, but I still like it either way. That Gung Ho did not hesitate. Something's coming out of the tree at me on my way up. Bam! I rewound it twice to watch it. It cracked me up.
It was a good whack, too.
Mm-hmm. That snake got what was coming to it.
My theory is they're real snakes, because where are they at? Snake Island. Have you ever seen the real Snake Island? There's snakes everywhere, and it's creepy.
Good enough for me. Confirmed then.
I'll stay away. I'm not a big fan of snakes. If I know they're there, I'm good. If I know they're there, they're not going to be there much longer.
I like how Amber got all the way to the island and did all the amazing stuff that she did, but then it was a couple of snakes that she was like, oh, I'm done. Just frozen. Just done.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, really? That's what you were worried about? Quick Kick took his sweet time getting back to her too. So let me take care of these guys first, and then I'll take care
There are
of
a lot of
Snake.
things that don't scare my wife that I think they should. There's some of the things she does that I'm like, I can't do that. And then the little creepy crawlies I got to take care of.
I don't know where we left off.
I think it's back to me.
Okay, go for it, George.
I'd just like to point out that there were 2 scenes in this episode where Quick Kick had a shirt on. They were at the opera and they were at the ball game. That's probably the only 2 times I've ever recalled him actually wearing a shirt.
That's true. He doesn't wear a shirt when he goes to the Arctic a lot of the time. So
Exactly. Some of these characters take Shipwreck, Quick Kick. They find these people out in the middle of nowhere, and automatically they're G.I. Joe, right? And so you got Amber coming in, and she's like, well, I'm going to prove myself. And at least they offered her a position, but you never see her again. She went on a mission. She's like, yep, I'm out. I'm done. I'll wait.
Maybe she did come back when there was all that wave of ninjas that were coming out of G.I. Joe.
In the 90s? Yeah, there was quite a few of them.
she had a really cool mask. So, we'd never know.
Okay. Jason, do you have any more?
Well, I don't think we can get away from this without mentioning the episode of The Tick. If you've ever seen that animated cartoon from the 1990s where there's a villain named Chairface Chippendale who pulls the exact same bit of drawing on the moon. If I remember correctly, I think they stop him halfway through, and from that point in the series, whenever the moon is seen in the background, it still has half of the writing or the face that was on it. I just love that, they committed to the bit. It kind of teased us with that at the end of this episode with the sign. So that was a neat bit.
That's pretty impressive. The Tick kept that going through the whole series. But yeah, and then the smiley face. The smiley face wouldn't have covered up the Cobra hood. But whatever. Overall, the episode was solid. It was really a well-written one. But the one little quirk or thing that I have is when Lady J, actually the Baroness, dressed as Lady J, talks to Alice in the Sky Striker. When did the Baroness learn Alice's name?
I was wondering the same thing. I just forgot to write it down.
I rewound it twice to make sure that Quick Kick or somebody didn't call Alice by her name while Lady J was standing there. And they never did.
Maybe Alice is a Crimson Guard waiting to be activated.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, that was just one little quick. I'm like, a little hole in the plot. But if that's all I can get out of this one, that's pretty good.
And was it this episode or the last episode where they mentioned how many Sky Strikers Ace has lost?
Every episode.
Yes, because
it was the last episode.
But then I noticed he lost another one this episode, so it was like, oh yeah, that's a continuing bit. That's nice.
There's a counter you should be calculating, Jim.
That's what I was going to say. I may go back and watch them, on like 2 times speed and count them. And we may pick that up later. We'll see. Because I think it's pretty consistent. He's losing them all the time.
That would be a tight race between him and Duke.
Great discussion so far, guys. All right, Jason, how about you hit the last one for us?
All righty then. So this is The Germ, written by Roger Slifer. A Crimson Guard steals experimental bacteria. Conflict between Destro and the Crimson Twins leads to a fight in which the bacteria and some growth serum are dropped, resulting in a giant blob-like organism that consumes Cobra's lab and begins rampaging through the countryside. Alerted by Colonel Sharp, a team of Sky Strikers finds the germ, which spews back the missiles and insecticide they dropped into it, and Ace is temporarily incapacitated by the insecticide. The Joes reconnoiter on the USS Flag, where Airtight introduces a needle-nosed jet to fly into the germ and deliver explosive antibodies. Inside the germ, Airtight encounters explosive debris from the Cobra lab and corrosive enzymes that threaten the ship. Meanwhile, the doctor who created the bacteria finds the Joes. At the nucleus, Airtight comes under fire by 2 Cobras who were sucked inside at the lab. He fights them off, plants his explosive, and returns to his ship, which he and the Crimson Guard agent use to escape the germ. The delivered antibiotics cause the germ to split into 2, with half of it headed towards New York City. Recognizing that apple seeds contain a small amount of poison, Sky Strikers drop missiles to lead one germ to an orchard where it is destroyed. A Joe armor unit assembles in New York, ready to fire apples there. The armor unit is overrun by the remaining germ, but the Sky Strikers arrive to drop orchards full of apples. It explodes, sending the 2 Cobras inside, flying into Joe custody.
3 Cobra Troopers, though? Because there was the 2 Troopers, and then the Crimson Guard.
Yeah, the Crimson Guard. I watched it 3 times this afternoon trying to figure out when he got sucked into the blob, because where did he come from, right? That was the one that started the whole shenanigans.
Yeah.
They never showed that he got pulled into that.
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't crazy, too, because I didn't remember how he was there. Just kind of like, oh, okay, he's there now, so whatever.
Well, and if he was in there, how did he survive in that nucleus? So he must have been in the jet the whole time. I'm standing by, it's Alice.
There you go. So I'm piggyback on that with my first high. When the blob first forms and is taken over the Cobra base, there's those 2 Cobra Troopers that get spit out at the end. They're running, and they find the water moccasin, and they change into the eel uniforms. To answer your question about the Crimson Guard, I thought the same thing, George. Now I'm remembering, because I rewound it. They showed when Airtight was blasted the door or was trying to get in, they showed through the window a eel uniform. And then they showed the Crimson Guard off scene, suggesting that he got in the eel uniform.
Yeah, we'll roll with that, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, well, mine's all to say that these guys were surviving. I liked how they showed that they changed in the uniform, and that's how they survived. Let's go with George. What's your first high, low, or fatal fluffy?
Well, my first one's got to be Shipwreck. When they're just waiting for the blob to come, Shipwreck takes his opportunity to start hitting on Cover Girl, try and get a date with her like he's always trying to do. Shipwreck's my guy. He's something else, man.
Well, if you remember, George, a couple episodes where I brought up that, and I'm glad they continued with this Cover Girl Shipwreck thing. I'm interested to see if it continues on, because I never really caught it as a kid. This is the 3rd episode we've seen where they interact, and that's where Devil's Due and IDW later on, they were actually a couple in the 2000s and the 2010s. I can see where they were getting it from. So I'd piggyback on George on that one. So, Jason, what do you got?
All right. I love when I see toys that I had in these episodes, and one of my favorite simple toys for the Joe side, I was always more of a Cobra toy person. They're more, wild and crazy to play with, but I love the bridge layer, and they use that in this episode. It's such a functional toy. It's so fun to play with. Whenever, I don't know if you guys played the same way, but my brothers and I would always line up all the figures and all the vehicles, and you would take turns selecting. It was a ordered pick. Whoever won the rock, paper, scissors got first. And the bridge layer was always, it might not have been in the top 1 or 2, but it was top 5. Just seeing that again was nice.
If you listen to some of the toy episodes, I like the utility vehicles. The bridge layer, the coastal defender,
Agreed.
The road toad. So I like the utility vehicles, that type of stuff. And Bridge Layer is one of my top 10. George, what you got?
Well, let's see. What can we pick from the many that I have? Oh, I like how they converted their vehicles over to shoot apples. Like, let's make these laser machines. Now they're going to shoot apples today. We're just going to dump it down the throat and see what happens.
Reverse the polarity.
Yep.
Works on Star Trek. It's got to work here.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. That all of a sudden they're shooting apples like it's nothing.
Yeah, I thought that too. I'm like, yeah, it's not that easy. But I mean, in theory, it would work. Put an air compressor and you can make it work. Pretty unique. I don't have any more. So, Jason, you got some?
Let's see. I really just like the infighting in Cobra. I always enjoy seeing that in contrast to how the Joes, you may have people bicker and not get along for a little bit, but they're on the same team. Whereas the Cobras just, no, I'm in this is Destro's lab. These are the Crimson Guard. We don't work together. We just work together. So it was nice to see that, dynamic played up, just to see the different ranks of Cobra.
And the Crimson Twins always looking at that bottom line.
Oh, yeah.
Keeper. Yes, absolutely. George, you got any more floating out there?
Yeah, I've got 2 floating in the germ. We're going to go with, I like how the germ went from the swamps to all of a sudden now it's going for New York in a matter of minutes. That's a pretty fast moving germ. sure New York has some swamps, but I don't think they're swamps that Cobra usually hangs out in, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know the landscape very well, but I do know that Larry Hama always wrote about the New Jersey marshlands. So I don't know if there's marshlands in New Jersey, because that's where the Dreadnoks would hang out, close to where the G.I. Joe pit was.
Yeah, I guess I'll give them that and let it roll. I've been in Jersey. I didn't see a whole lot of swamps, but there is New Jersey, so.
If you pan over, you will see the Legion of Doom, in the corner there. The same swamp, all cartoons share.
Well, yeah, that way they can converse and see what's going on. All right. Anybody got any more before we roll into our favorite episode discussion?
I got one last one that I got to let out there is when they were trying to divert the last germ or the first germ to go, one of them, getting them go to the orchard. And he's like, well, we don't have any missiles left. He's well, I got one. So what's he do? He's going to blow up a dam and make more trouble for everybody else that's downstream. I was like, I didn't quite understand the logic behind that, but I guess at the time it was the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah, they don't always think things through.
What's that saying about when you hold a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail? When you got a bazooka, when you got a missile launcher, you got to use it.
Yeah, I guess you let Ace make that decision, and that's what you get.
Yeah. All right. So we've covered these episodes in detail. Now let's highlight some of the episodes by picking one of each for the following subjects. And that's a little loose. We can go one or two. So, most significant episode. The episode that stood out from the most due to character building, overall story, or world building. Jason, you got one for the most significant.
As much as I would like to go with the Game Master, I think I actually have to go with the Germ just because of the last point I was making about showing how the Cobra interacts as opposed to Joe. It was like a real moment that carries over to other episodes. You can remember that, okay, the twins are not always on the same page as Firefly or Destro or Dr. Mindbender later on when he shows up. Things like that. And yeah, I really like that they laid that in throughout the series. And it was nice to see it come up here.
George, how about you?
Well, I'm going to have to go with the Game Master. The Game Master is probably my number one out of all of them. It'll make the top three, if not top one every time. I really enjoy that one. I don't know what about it I like. Maybe it's
Baroness Bikini.
Yeah, probably the Baroness Bikini. I just enjoy the gamer side of it. That they used the Joes and, of course, then Cobra Commander being Cobra Commander, just kind of a knucklehead. Wouldn't let G.I. Joe try and help him.
So my most significant episode, I'm going to go with the Germ. Similar to what Jason said was the interaction with Cobra, Shipwreck, and CoverGirl continuing that relationship or that playful sparring. And the way that the Cobra Troopers changed into the eel uniforms to survive and they used them later, and that would be my most significant just because of the carryover from previous episodes into this one. All right, next one that we are going to be picking is the craziest episode. Which one of these episodes had the craziest moments and plot? George, how about you? What's your craziest?
Well, I was hoping you wouldn't start with me because I really don't know. I'm going to stick with the Game Master. It was off the wall, the whole rockets launching. They were just pumping it up like one of the old water rockets. I thought that was crazy that, they just use those old toy methods as his defenses. I thought that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Game Master for mine just because it's crazy. It's crazy good. That's what it is. So, Jason, how about you?
It's a trifecta, guys, because it's definitely the Game Master. The giant lawnmower, the Willy Wonka-esque setup. We didn't even mention Cobra Commander just randomly attacking the Joes with a peppermint cane. I mean, we didn't have time for that. That's how crazy this episode was. So, yeah, it's got to be the Game Master.
Or how about when, was it Duke or Flint was talking to Destro, and Destro asked where Cobra Commander was, and they said in a marshmallow swamp or marshmallow something or other. And Destro's like, you got to be kidding me. Nope, take a look. So, yeah, definitely crazy moment.
He got a camera out before they got him out of there.
Oh, I hope
that's on video.
All right. Your single most memorable moment from any episode. So the moment that the scene, the interaction, whatever it is that you go, I am going to remember that for a while. And Jason.
All right, I'm going to throw some love to Lasers in the Night when Gung Ho punches the snake, because it made me rewind twice. So if you make me rewind twice and howl with laughter, that's worth mentioning, right? It's got to be that.
Yeah, that was pretty good. George, how about you?
Well, I don't want to pick a snake. I guess I'm just going to go back to the Game Master. The part where, and it was, I think it's Super 7 ended up making them, was the troopers that were walking Cobra Commander out when he was in the missile when they kidnapped him. Those guys are very memorable. And I was glad to see that when they were made into a toy. I don't have any of them, but I don't have a lot of toys anyway. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Man, my single most memorable moment. I really hadn't thought about this one. To tell you the truth, I think it's going to have to be that scene in Where Reptiles Roam when they're breaking into the Cobra facility and they take Bazooka instead of Snake Eyes in there. That's like the worst personnel choice ever. That would probably be my single most memorable moment.
When really they could all just stayed in the car with the engine running and had Snake Eyes just go get it real quick. We'll be right here. They didn't need to send everybody in.
Well, they called dibs for these missions, and that's why Snake Eyes never wins. Because,
if you send Snake Eyes every time, it's just going to be a short episode. All right. So the last one, overall favorite episode. Which one out of these we have covered is your favorite? I'm going to let George go first because I know what Jason's is.
Well, you probably know what mine is too. You should have let Jason go so I could just piggyback on him. No, it's going to be the Game Master. It always is, always will be number one, I think. But we got a lot more to watch. I'm sure that might get changed. It might jog a memory a little bit, but it was a good one.
Yes, to me, it's also the Game Master. The only thing that comes close in my mind is the Viper is coming. This is as far as standout, I remember watching it multiple times as a young man growing up. So, yeah, it's got to be this one. Fairness speaking.
All right. My favorite, I'm not going to go with the Games Master. I'm going to go with the Germ. Believe it or not. It was a little crazy. The changes and the interaction. The Games Master was good, but the Germ was probably my favorite. Either of you want to do a honorable mention of anything before we move on to our next segment?
Shout out to Quicksand / Butterscotch. It was, just another fun moment in the Game Master. So I'm squeezing one last one in. So, there we go. Mm-hmm.
There you go. All right. With our discussion and episode highlights covered, we are going to roll into our Duke capture count segment, which is going to be short today because I don't think there was any.
Take cover!
This is a segment that will continue through the remainder of the cartoon podcast episodes, tracking the number of times that Duke gets captured. As of Outpost episode 12, we were at 6 times that Duke has been captured. So how many times did he get captured in these episodes? I didn't see any. It was a big goose egg. Unless, and I don't know if it was captured, but he was held at gunpoint by the Crimson Guard behind him.
Could that be a 0.5?
Maybe.
They surrendered before he even knew they were behind him. So I don't know. That one's definitely a thin one.
I'll leave it open.
I think that one's iffy. I think he could have gotten away at any time. So, yeah.
He never put his gun down, so I guess he did not surrender. Therefore, he was not captured.
There we go. All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Technicality.
Good argument. All right. We're going to roll into our final segment that we call Military Surplus.
Here it is, the legends of G.I. Joe. He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble.
Here at the Outpost, on each episode, besides discussing the toys, comics, and cartoons of the highlighted year, we discuss a peripheral item related to G.I. Joe. Today, we're going to discuss some stickers. Back in the 80s, who didn't like stickers? And 3djoes.com has 15 different sets listed. We're going to discuss 5 of them today. The first set is a 3D collector sticker set from Our Way Studios from 1982. And 3D set, I think they're stretching a little bit. I'd call them puffy stickers, wouldn't you? What do you guys think of these sets?
Oh, yeah. I think I remember seeing these. If I didn't own them, I definitely had a cousin that had these or something like that. And I definitely remember the puffiness you're talking about. So it really brings back just, deep memories of seeing this type of stuff out there, this type of merchandise that was available to us. And yeah, everybody loves stickers. This is pre-Trapper Keeper. So you were putting those on every folder, every book you had. So yeah, it's great stuff.
I don't remember these stickers. There are stickers I remember. I just do not remember these ones. What year was it that we found some at King County? Was it 82? I think you have them.
I don't remember finding stickers. I found some Valentine's cards.
Maybe you
Presto
maybe you
Magic.
didn't buy them. We just saw them and you didn't buy them.
I think they're pretty pricey. If you think about it, as Jason said, you buy a sticker, what are you going to do with a sticker? You're going to put it on something.
Yeah, finding any vintage sticker still ready to be stuck. That's why the GPKs, we find those still not stuck. They're worth something because they got stuck to everything.
But I do like the art on this stuff. I don't know if they're taken from comics or cartoons or what they're from, but they look really great for 82.
Yeah, I really like the Snake Eyes one. That one's a good little group of stickers.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying about the style of them. There's just a simpleness to them somehow, even though they're hyper detailed. There's lots of color and lots of detail on their costume. There's something that's kind of almost like Sunday comics kind of style. I don't know.
Some of them I look at and go, oh, that's from a comic. One's from a cartoon. So, I mean, I think you said it right, Jason. It's simplistic. It's basic. It's good.
One other thing I just noticed about the Snake Eyes one, the bottom right. Snake Eyes must be left-handed because he is not throwing that grenade like he throws right-handed.
No, he's not.
What? That's how I pitch.
Okay. The second set we're going to look at are Laser Blazers, laser with a Z, 3D holographic stickers from Color Forms in 1983. And if you think about it, holograms were just starting to get popular right around this time. So this was like high tech. These four are definitely package art turned into holograms. I think they're pretty cool.
These are pretty cool. If Laser Blade, if that doesn't say I'm right out of the 80s, man, that looks like it belongs on a Trapper Keeper.
I think that's part of the Mask theme song. Something about blazing rays or something like that. I'm pretty sure. I didn't have any of these. Did you guys ever see these in the wild?
This is the first time I've seen them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I see them, they may have to go home with me.
Oh, yeah. They're very cool looking.
So, third set from Hallmark in 1983. And they had lots of different packages and sets. Oh, my. If you scroll down, look at the Snake Eyes middle right there. The coloring.
He's like blue. No, he's like Firefly, right?
He's definitely not colored like Snake Eyes.
I don't think I recognized that as Snake Eyes until you pointed that out. My eye went right over him. I just didn't even know who or what I was looking at. But wow, yeah, that color change is intense.
Definitely not the highest quality compared to the other two sets we've looked at.
Back on the Laser Blazers. You'd be surprised. They're pretty affordable.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
How much?
$15.99 plus $3 in shipping.
eBay?
Yep.
Oh.
Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming. Back off.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on these, Jason?
These are really, like I said, the others were simplistic. These take it to another level of simplistic, but there's some nice recognizable characters, Snake Eyes not being one of them, like Gung Ho. Doc gets a sticker. Heck yeah. I mean, when does he ever get any love and appear on anything? So other than in this first year or two of the 3/4 inch line, he becomes much more pushed to the side by the time we get to Lifeline. So anytime we see some of these old Joes that only show up every great once in a while, I do get excited.
Yeah, you gotta remember this was 83. So yeah, this was the year Doc came out, and then Gung Ho, Airborne, Torpedo, Snow Job. So they're really promoting them. All right, what do you think about these simplistic stickers, George?
To me, it looks like they ran out of funding for it and said, well, we're just going to go with the Temu version, and they're no Laser Blazer. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, I agree.
Still pretty cool,
These
though.
were...
Like you said, with the Snow Job, Doc, and there's some good ones on here. They could have done a little bit better with Snake Eyes, and then you got Stalker there standing up the flag. I like that.
Definitely something that would pique my interest if I saw them, though. Some of that stuff that you don't see very often. All right, fourth set. Yes. These are from 1984 with an album from Our Way Studios. And right away, I love the package art, not just the stickers. Jason, what do you think?
Agreed. The package art is glorious, but I've never been one for, having stickers in an album. I think that would have thrown me off because I would have been mad that I couldn't peel them back up and put them on the other page. So pretty sure if I would have ever gotten this set, the stickers still would have just gone on whatever I felt like putting them on instead. Other than that, they're a lot of fun. They're very colorful. So I'll look for those in my stocking this year, too. I'll send George my address.
There you go.
Usually I end up with too many things for Jim for Christmas, so I end up selling them to whether my parents or my sister. So he still gets them. So I just farm it out for him. I make it easier on everybody else, that's for sure.
Oh, that's beautiful. Love it.
I usually will send a group text and say, hey, I've got a $20, a $30, and a $60 gift item. Anybody need anything? Otherwise, I'm going to hang on to it till next year.
That's why we call him the Quartermaster.
If you need it, there's a good chance I'm going to find it. Or I already have it. Or two, like Chuckles.
And he loves spending my money at shows. He loves getting me to spend my money at shows.
It's so easy. Yeah. I'm like, oh, come on, man. That's a good deal. You got to do it. I get commission, but he doesn't know it. These other like, all right, get a little kickback here,
Yeah, twisting a toy collector's arm at a toy show is real hard.
But yeah, as far as these stickers, I feel like maybe I didn't have these, but these ones I feel like I would have had and I would have stuck everywhere. These puffy stickers, they stick in my head like we may have had these ones, but I could be wrong.
I don't know if we had them, but this is when you and I really started collecting in 1984. This is our age where we started collecting a little bit more. So if we would have had any sticker sets, it probably would have been these.
I feel like they would have ended up in our Easter basket, something along that line.
Our Easter basket would be a theme. I remember one year it was an Army helmet. So
I do remember that one. Yep.
That is neat. So you guys had like all G.I. Joe themed Easter baskets one year, or just Army themed in general? Military theme in general. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I think we ended up getting, it was like a Army set. It had like flashlight and stuff like that with it.
Oh, that's cool. Did they hide them from you and make you go search them out, or was that just something we do in the South that people have to search for their Easter basket?
Well, we didn't have to search for our Easter basket. We do the Easter egg hunt.
Right, yeah. My parents just took it to the next level, I guess. We had to go through closets, garage, and everything else to find the basket.
That's just cruel.
Yeah, and I was just thinking if it was a military-colored helmet, with camouflage on it, we would have been really screwed. So I'm glad we didn't get that one.
I like these sticker sets. It looks like it's pretty much the package art, but the colors pop a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So the fifth and final set we're going to look at today is another set from Our Way Studios, and they are some more 3D stickers.
This one's got good variety.
It does. Very good variety.
There's the same Snake Eyes, though, throwing the grenade right-handed.
Yeah. At least he's colored correctly.
Then I didn't quite understand why Doc had a grenade launcher between his legs, and that didn't make a whole lot of sense.
I was so excited to see him earlier, I didn't even think about what he was doing.
Well, the other one you saw, he actually had his medikit in front of him.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure if it was the same on this set. Okay.
No, this one is different.
Gotcha.
So, I'm trying not to be the nerd too. Like, I am Jim the Joe Junkie. That is not a missile launcher.
No.
That is a flare.
Flare. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, nerd.
As I push my
actually.
Yeah. And that's very, very easily mistaken, but you got to remember, he was a pacifist, so that was a flare gun.
What kind of dog does Mutt have? It looks like Beast is what it looks like from
That's
here.
Oh, yeah, it does. It does. Looks like George Perez drum Beast.
That is from his package art.
Is it?
Yes. Junkyard looks very ferocious on his package art.
Mm-hmm.
Junkyard definitely didn't get a nap that day.
That's what I look like when I get a nap. And then the kids wake me up.
I like Spirit. Spirit looks like he's going down a water park slide or something.
I didn't even notice him until you say, yeah, you're right.
That's got to be from a comic.
Oh, yeah.
Now, does that have their name or what it is underneath all of them, or is that just trademark?
I think it's their name.
Their, not code name, but their specialty. Like Spirit is Tracker.
Okay. Tracker, yep.
Oh, okay.
Dog handler for Mutt.
Okay.
I wonder if they were... Well, they got G.I. Joe right there. I was wondering if they were trying to cheapen out on some of the copyright stuff. by just use their specialty instead of their code name. But then Major Blood and Destro.
That's the ones I was just looking at. I was trying to see if they said their names or not.
Yeah, Rock and Roll trying to shoot his arm off. And then Bazooka, that's not our Bazooka.
No.
That's Zap.
Right.
He's a Bazooka Trooper.
Oh, it says Trooper. Okay, I can't quite read that. Yep. Then there's just a random bomb on that far right.
And Gung Ho and Roadblock have done something terrible behind them.
That's where Snake Eyes left.
Yeah, it's Taco Bell.
Shipwreck's chili.
Yeah. So, now is the time. Of the ones that we have discussed, which set is your favorite, George?
My favorite is, of course, I closed them all so that I wouldn't lose them. So it's going to be the puffy stickers, the 84 puffy stickers. That was my favorite one. Probably just because that's the one I remember. If I had stickers, that would have been what I had.
How about you, Jason?
George and I are in lockstep again. Those are the ones I was looking at. I really think I would have the most fun putting those on things now. Let me loose with those around the house, and my wife will be giving you a call later.
Hey, I didn't make you put the stickers on things.
Look, I'm just trying to make the kitchen more accessible for all of us, right?
I am going to go with the 84 3D stickers, the ones we looked at last. I like the variety, the different sets. You know, you had 4 different packages you could choose from. Kind of got to collect them all type thing. That's the ones I'm going with. All right. George, any closing thoughts on anything we talked about today?
No, actually, I think we've covered everything I've got. All my notes have been mentioned.
All right. Jason, any closing thoughts? Anything that you want to add about the Games Master episode or anything?
I think the Games Master is just so fun because it is every person who collected these toys, it's themselves as the bad guy, right? It's here, I'm going to put on my G.I. Joes and Cobras together and I'm going to make them fight. And only one of them gets out of here. It's a exaggerated version of how a child might play with some of these things, obviously, done to the nth degree. And I've always enjoyed episodes like this. One of my few favorite episodes of Transformers Season 3 has some of the Autobots and Decepticons captured by a giant alien child who transforms them and uses them as toys. He's got them on strings and mobiles around his room. And yeah, it's just fun because you can kind of recreate that yourself, if you will, or they're recreating your play on the screen. And that's why I love the Game Master so much. You get to see, the Joes and Cobras fighting on the same side like you can do in your living room as opposed to the show normally.
Yeah, you brought up a good point. That's where I personally was not one that mixed toy lines when I was playing.
Okay.
The Games Master could be something like that. Like you said, you're mixing stuff. You're using your sister's dolls or your He-Man.
Or your brother's My Little Ponies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I had to go to George's room to get that. But,
Well, sure. Yeah, that's what we're going with. Mm-hmm.
No, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. George, Jason, thank you both. It was a great discussion. Had fun. Audience, thank you for joining George, Jason, and myself for this episode of G.I.Joe Outpost. George, where can they find you if they wanted to contact you?
They can't. I'm unavailable. Jim's the only one that can contact me for special mission. No, I'm kidding. You can find me on Facebook, George Meal. I do have Meals, Steals, and Deals as well. But the best way to get a hold of me is through George Meal.
All right. Thank you. Jason, how about you? Again, thank you for joining us. It was a great time getting to know you, talking to the cartoons. If the listeners wanted to contact you, where can they find you?
Absolutely. You can get in touch with me at Keene Comics on Instagram and Blue Sky. I'm toeing back into social media these days, so that's what I got so far. If you're finding me somewhere else, that's not me. Talk to me. I'm on Instagram.
Anybody can find me on Facebook as Jim Meal, Jimmiel, or Timbers Toys and Customs. I don't put a whole lot on there, but any shows I'm going to or any customs that I've been doing lately. You can also find me on X as Jim the Joe Junkie. I want to thank everyone at the Longbox Crusade Network for adding and keeping G.I.Joe Outpost to their extensive line of shows. Take a listen to all the other shows that are on the Longbox Crusade on any podcatcher or on YouTube. And if you like what you hear, go to Patreon, become a Crusader Club member, where you get all the access, more access than you want sometimes. Join us next time where we will be discussing as not yet decided toy topic. Until next time,
Yo, Joe.
The music themes for this show are done by musical genius Joe November. Please check out his SoundCloud at Josephline99. That's Josephline 99. You will not regret it.
outtakes. I do that every time. And just those words. Anyway. Well, first I have to say, Mary Beth, what did you say? Revealing herself to the Baroness? Not all bad.
Stick around for the next episode. We might come back to that.
Yeah, well, you never know.
And your favorite, My Little Pony.
Oh, yeah, boy.
That's a running joke.
Hey, they were inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, so we got that going for us.
Hall of Fame of what?
The Toy Hall of Fame.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's okay. G.I. Joe made it back in I think 07 or 04 or something like that.
Yeah. I'm going to cut in front of Georgia on this one. One of my comments was, what was I going to say? I just lost it.
It looks like Jim's still trying to remember. That's why we write things down, Jim.
I lost it. Well, yeah.
You're getting old, man. Yeah, I really like the Snake Eyes one. That one's a good little group of stickers.
The second one in from the left on the yellow back. Where he's taking a
all right. Yeah, maybe that's why I like it. It's one of my favorite things to do or something. I don't know. I never noticed it until I saw the look on your face. I better look. Okay, yeah. Looks like you got done with some Taco Bell is what it looks like.
I would bet that quite a few of those stickers wound up in bathroom stalls.
Very, very possible. You're on mute.
Thanks for helping me with all the technical issues, guys. I was saying as I was muted. Wow. Easy for you to say.
That's all, folks.